para também enquadrar as imensas caras novas que estão cá, eu vou então apresentar um pouco o que é a associação, a VRARA Association. Façam um favor. Lá está, as pessoas ficam então, para todas as pessoas que ainda não vieram nenhum, já se aperceberam com certeza que aqui a nossa dinâmica é uma dinâmica altamente informal. Por isto é de facto um meetup. Isto não é uma conferência, isto não é um congresso, isto não é um encontro de sábios, é um meetup. E é um meetup promovido pela VRARA Association. Toda a gente percebe português? No? Okay. So let's switch to English.
I'll read the subtitles.
No, don't do that. No issue. So actually, all of our presentations will be in English. Usually they are. So it's. I was just following this. Yeah. Anyway, this is said. Well, first of all, thank you very much for being here. The VRARA Association is a large association, probably the largest association of professionals in the world of VR and AR. So it started 3.5 years ago in the US, and right now it's spawned across 50 chapters. Right now we are above 4,300 companies, and overall these 4,200 companies are in touch. What does this mean? This means that I actually have a Slack where I can interact with these companies. So it's not like, oh, let's all have a badge and we share the same badge and we take photos. No, it's not like that. We actually interact. I can sometimes get in touch with several of my colleagues in Spain, in the Netherlands, in Munich, in Belgium, and we actually interact, for instance, to do some applications, EU for the European Union. So that's fun. That makes sense, right? Another thing that actually also makes sense when we are developing for the Orient, for instance, or Thailand, we don't know anything about the aesthetics in Thailand. We don't, and we won't. But again, an agency there probably knows what really makes it count when you're talking with a Thai guy. That's it. So pretty much it's an association that gathers all of these professionals. Also, one of our worries is also to work on verticals and committees. So we have around 30 vertical committees. So we're talking about committees for defense, committees for marketing, committees for tourism. All these vertical committees, these market committees, are pretty much committed to creating best practices and to publish reports. So we're talking about big companies that are in touch and that cooperate directly with not so large studios and also sometimes with freelancers to create and to generate these best practices. And then these best practices are well published and then shared with the community, either with the community inside of VRARA or also through Forbes magazine, where pretty much the public audience. So besides that, we also have discounts in lots of events, 50% discounts. We have a company that does equipment rentals with something like 40% of discount, but at the same time you need to pay like for transport, so sometimes it doesn't really compensate, but still, it's good. And we also have a lot of training. Some of it is given without any kind of cost to the members. So this is pretty much a global reach, and why did we think that this could be interesting for the Portuguese VRAR ecosystem? So one of the things that this started actually 2 years ago, now that I think of it, actually we launched in September 2017. At that time we were 2 companies here in this chapter. Right now we are a bit more, but in that sense the same reason is driving us. Because at that point we thought it would really be interesting for us to have Well, the opportunity to promote ourselves internationally. Because we're not a first-tier country, and we won't be. And at the same time, we do have not just good technicians, not just good developers, not just good engineers, but we have a drive that allowed us at that time to have near 30 companies with a VR or AR practice in Portugal. Right now they are above 75. So we're talking about 75 companies that have a VR AR practice. We're talking about companies like, Meetup, for instance. You have a VR AR practice and you are really big, but you also have like smaller companies that have like 1, 2, 3, 4 people. So this to say that it is something that is appearing organically. So there was no special funds created by the government or program for these VR AR companies or VR AR agencies to appear. They are blossoming because, well, pretty much people want to. That's the beauty of it. So how can we actually make this phenomenon that is happening, how can we communicate that? How can we push it there to people? Okay, so, well, why not create and publish this into an international network, hence the VRARA. So, these are the committees, as you can see, lots of them, storytelling, retail, marketing, healthcare, you name it. We have construction, we have location-based, entertainment also, yeah, the works. And these are pretty much the reports that I'm talking about. And you also have a lot. We're talking about reports on VRAR patents, we're talking about that earlier on, arcades, venues, training, parks. So, besides that, we also create ecosystems. So pretty much an ecosystem is like an X-ray of the companies, the organizations, the universities, pretty much everyone that is pushing forward the VRAR agenda. So that is researching, that is doing work, that is publishing work. So pretty much what we do is create an ecosystem for each one of the cities that we work on. In Portugal, we don't work as a chapter, we don't work for a city. So we are not the Lisbon chapter, we are the Portugal chapter, hence we create that Portugal ecosystem map. And that is something that I'm going to share on Facebook, and which you can also download from our page, our Facebook page directly. It is something that is available to anyone. And if you can't find it, you are more than welcome to just ask, and we can send it over. It has been published also with Sapo, Texas. And yeah, and we appear, we have this partnership, international partnership with Fortune, so we promote our stuff with Fortune, and besides that, in Portugal we have Sapo as our main partner. So besides all of the other things that I told you about, we also organize events like these meetups. So we try to keep these meetups, well, at least periodic. So last one wasn't actually like last month because that was August. Well, actually no, it was September, but still. It was really close to August, so we thought, maybe it's not a good idea to do that, but we did do one. I think it was in July. End of June, exactly. So this to say that it's something that we want to preserve. So mind you, we are going to have a meetup pretty much every month. Next one is actually going to be special since it's during Web Summit, so we're going to do a dinner. So it's different kind of meetup. It's more of a meat and fish up kind of more of a meetup. That's it. We're also trying, and I can tell you now that we are now confirmed, we are going to have in Lisbon the VRARA Global Summit Europe. So that is going to happen in Lisbon. So it's going to be organized by the VRARA, and in that sense, it's going to be a huge opportunity for us also to showcase our work there for an international community, international network. Right now, the full agenda is being worked, but I can tell you that it's confirmed in the sense that right now, 2 big sponsors already confirmed, so they already said, yes, we want this, and here's the money. Okay? So now we really have to do it. We really have to do it here. It's good. So that to say that it's May, it's going to happen in May 2020, and you are of course invited. And that's pretty much it about, well, I have like 60 more slides, but I'm not going to show them. So if you have more doubts or if you have more interest in the VRARA, you are more than welcome to visit the website, because it's fun. First of all, because it's fun to say the VRARA. You can go to the VRARA.com and you will find all the information there, alongside with all the forms that you need to see all the costs and well, pretty much all the necessary information that you have. And afterwards, if you have any doubts, again, you are more than welcome just to post your doubts or just to, send over your message. And now, without further ado, maybe we just go and talk a bit about today. Actually, can you show the lineup, please? Keep talking. But yeah, so right now we have, we're going to have a small presentation of, because there's going to be like a big, new, let's call it like that, format to transmit knowledge here in Lisbon, transmit knowledge on VR and AR for organizations. So we are actually going to have, for the first time, post-graduation course just on VR and AR for business users. So it's going to be really fun. It's being promoted by Universidade de Lisbon. So I'm going to ask to do like a small intro on this, and maybe afterwards do and then afterwards we're going to then pass on to Miguel. Miguel is going to tell us and share with us a bit about what he has. What's your title? It's head of digital incubations lead.
Just a fancy title.
well, but a lot of work, right? On implementing and on trying VR and AR to try and create value inside such a big company and such, well, not just one company, like such a big, behemoth like Siemens. So that is going to be fun, and I'm sure that will be really interesting for us to hear a bit more about not just your daily challenges, but the overall challenge. Then afterwards, we're going to have Nicola. Nicola is going to, Nicola Hossen is the head of VR and AR, global head of VR and AR for at Accenture, right? And he's going to talk to us a bit about one thing that I think no one actually ever in Portugal talked about, which is scaling up projects in VR and AR. Because most of the times, we end up on the proofs of concept and sometimes on prototypes, and even sometimes we are pretty okay with everything on production, but it's really hard to ramp it up and to make things happen in a way that they mean actually more and more time saving, more and more benefits for the company through VR and AR, because it's such a new technology. So, will tell us a bit more about that, and then we're going to have a presentation of 2 startups, and then, of course, we're going to have a bit of networking, demos, where Dot and also Box Atlas, Box Atlas will also be presenting. And afterwards, we're also going to do some beer and also some chips, and maybe, lots of nice people for you to talk to. So I guess that's going to be fun. So, I think that right now, maybe Flip, can you, do share us a few words about, well, what you are holding.
Okay. Thank you very much for this opportunity. First of all, I am from University of Lisbon. I'm director of video games course, but I've been working with with a research center that recently created, the HALAB, Human Environment Interactions Lab, which cross psychology, design, and video games. And why that? Because in our university we work with VR since a long time ago, less than 15 years, with post-traumatic stress disorders and stuff like that in our research centers. But normally in the academic field, we are sometimes a little bit boring, sometimes too much disconnected from companies, which is a huge mistake of some orientations in some universities. So when Luis talked to me, and let's create something cool and actual to work with VR, augmented reality, sorry, area for business, I said, okay, this is perfect because it's something that we are seeking for. And so I'm here, to be honest, to present the director of the course, Luis. And why that? Because we decided to create these post-graduation studies. But if you can see, there are only here two faces, Pedro Gamito and Felipe Luz, myself, that we are academics. Of course, I've worked a lot in industry. I'm not that boring academic of papers. I'm against that area. But Pedro Gamito is going to give a master class session about 2 hours, and my participation will be more on the bureaucratic organizating the post-graduation facilities, etc., the labs. So most of the invited, the coaches, the trainers, the tutors will be from companies, not from academic, and I think this is really, really interesting and totally different from masters or PhD. So this is our first goal to oriented our post-graduation. So the best person to talk about it is Luis. And I think we can pass over the other slides just to explain a little bit the concepts that we designed for this project.
Yeah, but the main thing that you said, that this is very focused on having, hello. So what you just said, that this is something that is aimed at being very practical, very oriented, business oriented. It's actually something that is at the same time refreshing, because sometimes it's not exactly like that, the post-graduation courses that you get at the university, but at the same time it's also needed, in the sense that I guess we are, and I guess all of the businesses right now are very, well, they are aware of the possibilities, at least conceptually speaking. It is the interaction, it is the experience with the hardware, the experience with the use cases, creating and testing everything and making it work towards their own business case that is really not right now lacking. So this is pretty much the purpose of the post-graduation course. So what we want is for these 4 people to actually find a place where they can operate VRARA. So we're talking about teachers, we're talking about project managers, transformational leaders, we're talking about designers. She has a laptop here, you can see. And we're talking about leaders and managers. So we're talking about the people that will drive the transformation, the technology transformation that will happen in the next decade. And I don't think that there is, well, probably there are doubts, but I am pretty sure, let's go like that, let's say like that, I am virtual VR and AR, and probably more AR than VR, but that's
Just one remark, interesting, I think it's an interesting remark. This post-graduation is created inside of the Department of Film and Media Arts, and where we have engineering informatics, film, video games, animation, etc. So different areas with a lot of creativity, and where our research sometimes is to explore, to hack the technology and explore new ways of communicate. So sometimes you have some projects that doesn't have a commercial goal because they are thinking a little bit ahead in the future competences or future approach for the use of the technology. But on the other side, the people that we invite from our university to talk, to share their expertise or their experience after my also sorry the other research made like I was saying before, psychologists working with industries of health, education, that are a real fantastic area of implementing our gamification tools that we develop for learning process, etc., etc. So this cross, I think, it's unique and going to be really, really interesting.
yeah, actually that again is also a very important part, the multidisciplinary approach that actually allows for people and for professionals to learn from so many different skill sets. So yeah, for sure. Our main goal is exactly that. So to try and leverage these skill sets, try and leverage teams in order to create a value proposal that is based on VR and AR in organizations. And that's most of the times the worst part, which is, of course, also the one that will generate the KPIs, will generate the goals, will generate the methodology, will generate the technology choices, will generate everything else next. But we need to start with, we need to start with the value proposition. So that's where we're going to start, and pretty much everyone that is going to join the post-graduation course will have the opportunity then to develop a value proposition for its own business, or the business that they are working on professionally. So, congratulations. We have a birthday boy that 28. So these are pretty much disciplines that we're going to talk about. So as you can see, we are talking about things that begin with the fundamentals, but then we're talking about delivery, we're talking about storytelling, we're talking about UX, and we're talking about ethics. So these are, we think, the main focuses that we need to have when developing for anything on VR and AR. And then we're going to have two kinds of sessions. So we're going to have a session that is focused on hardware and software, 10 sessions just focused on try-ons of equipment and all and software. And then we will have 10 business cases that we're going to bring in and through questions and answers trying to explore and see if we can add on top of what we're going to work. These are the coaches. So please, Tiago, that is there right now, is working for Exit.
Yeah.
Hey.
World's leading multiplayer engine.
Ta-da.
More fancy.
And then Barbara, she is the head of content of All Deck VR, which is a company that was funded in May with a number of millions that I don't recall, but they are a startup and they're being funded in Germany. That is me, and that is Miguel, a global digital enablement IT lead. Okay. So these are the coaches that are going to accompany you throughout pretty much the course, and then afterwards, of course, you have speakers. So you have Pedro, you have Amir, for instance, that is working on a really cool VR game. Well, it's not a game, but it is a training, a brain training game. Well, if you want to know more, well, contact him. We have Francisco, who is the associate vice president for devices at IBC. There, we have Marcelo, that besides being the CEO of this company, he is also the CEO of VRARA, which is the first co-work space specifically for immersive technologies here in Lisbon. We have VRARA that has a robot painting paintings in MoMA and the Museum of Modern Arts. We have Emery Enns, that is the Global Events Director of the VRARA. We have Normandy, that is the Global Director for Media and Brand Innovation of the Digit Group, which is building up from scratch smart cities. So, yeah, a lot of people talk about VR and AR, and we hope that this.
The other is like free available.
Yeah.
That is
just arriving.
Augmented reality.
Yes, and you exactly. Move to the development is
On-top games.
yeah, from On Top Games that actually won actually was the first On Top Games is design game design studio was the first one to publish a game for the Magic Leap smart glasses. They are the first ones actually. They won the Explorers program for Magic Leap, and they were the first ones to actually publish something on Magic Leap. And that came out from Portugal. So the first ones also to win the hackathon, the augmented reality hackathon that happened, I think, in Birmingham or maybe Manchester. I don't know. It wasn't really London, but vicinity, and they won it. It was organized by Google, and yeah, they actually came out with multiplayer augmented reality. Yeah. Again. So well. Starts November 22nd, runs from Fridays to Saturdays, and it's going to be fun. So that's pretty much it. If you have, if you want to know more, you have the links, the websites, and we actually talk about it.
And questions, I will pass to Luis because I'm family duties today. Birthday at home, so I have to leave twice. So. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Philippe. Thank you. Thank you. And yeah,
Okay.
can you then please join? Meanwhile, some people arrived, so please be seated. And this is Jack.
So hi, today, even though I should be here, today is my birthday, so I'm just stopping by and then I'm gonna fuck off and have fun. So, but before I do that, I just wanted to say something. We're gonna meet in some of course, like Francisco is over there. We also co-host the only industry-focused game development event here in Portugal. We're going for the 6th iteration this year. And I just wanted to let you know, it's going to be here as well, 25th and 26th of this month. We will also be willing to offer special conditions for the RAR members and the RAR Association members and through the RAR Association. And so let us know if you wanna exhibit here. We have professionals from all over the world. We have people coming over from Blizzard, from a lot of big names in the industry. And it's always a cool space if you want to share what you're doing or if you want to like scout for talent for your company. And we are actively looking for VR and AR companies. So if you wanna hook up with us, let us know. It's gonna be very fun, and I really hope to see you there. So without further ado, this is the only thing.
Oh, maybe something.
That's it. Well, I can tell it's over. I don't know. So again, some other stuff. Who here is actually developing multiplayer experiences? Yay! One person. So can you tell us? Can you do like a live pitch?
A live pitch. Oh, okay. Hi, I'm Nick Rosa from Accenture, small developer from the UK. Just kidding. We are using multi-user XR for multiple kinds of use cases, both for entertainment and for training education. One of the use cases is an experience that we built for the National Theatre, where we are able to set 20 people in a shared environment using a self-contained device. We used the Lenovo Mirage Solo because the Oculus Quest wasn't out yet. But we created a multi-user tracking system that is able to identify the position of multiple users in space to provide a 10 minutes experience of a volumetric capture musical that has been inspired by the play Small Island that is now run by the National Theatre. So we have a singer that in 10 minutes tells a story of immigrants that were coming from Jamaica at the beginning of the 20th century, and tells the story using music and the evolution of all the music genres that's derived from Jamaica. Starting from calypso, going towards rhyme, and other music genre like reggae and reggaeton and so on. The experience now is going to run for a festival at South by Southwest this year. We're going to present it down there. And the other kind of multi-user experiences that we're doing are mainly in training education, where we need to have a super user supervising what the trainee is doing in VR. And we're using a platform that is a partner of Accenture, it's called Immerse, and they're providing the platform for us.
Well, congrats. So, thanks for sharing that.
Welcome.
Have you seen how many interesting technical challenges you're tackling right now? So this is some of the things that actually, at least in my perspective, and not just mine, but social cooperative experiences drive technology forward, especially in this new thing that we call VR and AR, and ultimately XR. So when you're able to connect a lot of people in the same space, and they can cooperate, they can talk with one another, that's really where all the magic comes. So I believe that probably you're very interested in trying this experience that he just shared with us. So this is the sort of thing that we really want to leverage and push forward. Having these sort of experiences where you can have people here interacting with people from, I don't know, another country, another continent. This is the sort of thing that we also want to hear, the sort of stories that we want to hear at our chapter. So let us know if you're working on something like this. We really wanted to do some interesting cases. So I think we're all ready.
Thank you.
So without further ado,
Yeah.
the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. We still have some difficult technicalities, but I will try to do my best to make sure that IT is on our side and not against us. Some of the times this can be a little bit of the challenges. So, Miguel Paulo, I'm from Siemens. I'm from the Digital Enablement Center, and my role is Global IT Digital Innovations Lead, and I'm also leading the AR and VR initiatives for Siemens IT. I'll give you just a short overview. That's what I have planned for today. I will be, I try to not be very, very boring, so keep you all interested during this short presentation. So I'll be focusing on giving you a little bit of a highlight of what Siemens is and what we have here in Portugal. Additionally, what are the areas that we are focusing on the Digital Enablement Center, and by the end, what we are doing in AR and VR. So we do have some 4 cool platforms that we are incubating currently, and yeah, just have something to share with you for today. So the beginning, Siemens. What is Siemens currently? So Siemens is going into the direction of a big holding, and we do have the differentiation between strategic and operating companies. Then we have service companies. So you have to imagine that each one of those over here is around 40,000 people. Okay, so Siemens is an organization with around 400,000 people. We have many factories. We are in 190 countries, and currently I'm within the global IT, which we have global financial services, global business services, real estate. So basically we are the integrators and the ones that build the global platforms for the whole company. Now coming a little bit into the digital industries portfolio, I always like to show this slide because it gives an indication of how many areas Siemens is currently involved. So yes, we are from automotive to aerospace to glass. Many of these areas people usually correlate still here in Portugal to cell phones. Sometimes to fridges as well, I think fridges or dishwashers as well. It's the brand, but we don't do it anymore. Okay, this has passed to Bosch, but anyhow, you can still buy it, it's available. Nonetheless, we are more focusing into the true industry, not much business to consumer, but mostly business to business. Okay. Now, what does it mean in digitalization? I mean, at Siemens we try to be bringing the whole scope of digital. Just imagine if you are a business, and even if you are a small to medium business and you want to have all your development, all your manufacturing developed on a factory, for example, or an automated environment, this is something that we can offer from the beginning till the end. So since the design of the whole shop floor until the solutions that will help you to automate this. In the recent years, we have invested around 10 billion in investments, and we have bought several software companies and hardware companies. This is just a few examples. So we recently bought Mendix last year for 900 million. Mendix is, for the Portuguese folks, the OutSystems of the outside world. So everybody who has heard about OutSystems, we have Mendix, and it basically offers the same value, and it's integrating natively with SAP. So this was the choice, one of the choices we've made. And additionally, it will help us to leverage our MindSphere application portfolio. MindSphere is Siemens operating system for the cloudification of the factory environment. What we have next is, this is the iExperience Center, which I have recently developed a partnership. This is something that we have here at Siemens in Portugal. It's an innovation lab with different partnerships. I will show you another slide on this afterwards. And basically, we're trying to build a partner ecosystem with universities, companies, so feel free to approach me if you would be interested to visit the lab or to work with Siemens products and integrate them with new technologies. So this is something that I myself I'm currently doing. I'm integrating some of our offerings with this new technology, with the AR and VR. So the objective is how can we leverage this? This is our partner ecosystem that we have. Next Reality is already there. We also have Glartech, and well, they are the two partners, I would say, currently that we have locally. This is on the lab here, because globally we have much more partners. As you can imagine, I mean, we work with everybody, Accenture. I mean, I've been in your offices in Berlin, in Munich, Frankfurt. I mean, you guys have locations everywhere, and basically we can leverage the global partnership agreements that we have currently in place, and I'm usually in quite a contact with those guys. Next, I would focus a little bit on what we at DSC that we do. So we try to leverage and create new IT products and services within IT so that we can be more appealing for our business customers. So we usually sell to the inside market of Siemens, which, as you can imagine, I mean, 100,000 people can be quite huge. So we basically try to bring speed for solutions, we try to bring attractiveness to the products, and also how to monetize and make our IT sustainable, our internal IT. This is a little bit on how we do it. So we have an innovation process on how we can basically pass from the ideation phase to the growth phase. This is where we really incubate. I mean, a few examples could be Mendix, but also Google Cloud. So we took an example of a platform that was acquired by Siemens that our business wanted to use, and of course it needed to be assessed and needed to be integrated within the Siemens ecosystem. This means security, as you can imagine, this means availability, this means training, this means user experience, and all of these are tasks of our internal IT. So we have to build a contract frame agreement from a global IT perspective on how could our businesses start using this technology. The same happened with Google Cloud, and mostly with some of the AR and VR platforms I will be showing you today. Next, this is our motto. Basically, it's very straightforward, very German. I know. So it's very identify, validate, scale, or kill. This is how we usually deal with the approach of innovation. We do have many incubations here, and we try to be very thoughtful about each one of the stages. So our objective is to have sustainable services, because I'm a true believer that the times for aggregate services within a global IT ecosystem, they might die quite soon if we don't adapt to the change. Because we cannot compete, but we rather need to partner with players like Accenture, like Atos. Atos is also a big player worldwide, and Deloitte, for example. Here is a showing of our all incubation. So as you can see, I can be very busy. It's not AR and VR, but it's mostly everything that we have around innovation. So analytics is also something that we are working very closely. Digital software development ecosystem. We have one of the biggest software repositories worldwide with 25,000 developers. It's our internal Meetup. Many people don't know this, but Siemens is one of the biggest software houses in the world, which with 400,000 people, I mean, it's kind of easy to be the biggest of something. How are we basically spread? So our department is based on North America, South America, Asia, Germany, and then currently this is me, Southwest Europe. Hopefully it will grow, we'll see. But what I wanted to show is that we have a global footprint. So our objective is most of the times to bring solutions that we can find in one of these markets. Imagine a startup in Asia, do an incubation, do a POC, and if it's interesting, why not do a POC in Brazil? Why not do a POC in Argentina? If we have a local footprint there, why not leverage these scenarios? I mean, for sure we need to follow several processes about customs, export, security, but this is something that we are very used to handle. Last but not least, and this is actually the reason why I'm here today, so I'd like to thank Luis for the invitation at VRARA. I'd like to show you a little bit on what is our vision for AR and VR within Siemens globally. So I'll try to be very, not very long, but all the description. So our objective is to provide a low-code, no-code platform for leveraging our current portfolio in AR and VR. How can we achieve this? Well, we can try to be the very least hardware, or at least hardware agnostic, so we try to focus on the platforms. And you have to imagine that Siemens currently focuses on, we already built the 3D designs, we have a lot of designs for designing the product or the factory shop floor. We have the manuals for the past 30 years that we have also this information. And now what we try to do is try to combine them into an appealing solution and also fast solution to the market. Here are some examples of some of the tools that we are currently incubating. We also have a lot of proprietary tools. I mean, our internal community is around 400 members inside Siemens, and hopefully this will grow with the time passing. I'm a true believer, like Luis said, that this is going to shape the next, I wouldn't even say the next 10 years, maybe, but in the next 2-3 years, we're going to start to have a serious impact in our lives. So I'm not going to say that everybody in the factory will use sunglasses, no, but they will be impacted on the way that we are handling AR mostly, because this will be the area that I'm going to focus, or assisted reality, which is AR in essence. I'm going to show you how a big enterprise industry, very old, I mean, Siemens has 180 years, for those of you who doesn't know, and how can we try to apply this into a very old world of industry. One of the examples that I would like to share with you today is going to be industrial circuit. So industrial circuit is a tool that is leveraging our collaborative solution within Siemens. So it's pretty much our Skype, but it's from Siemens. We have a lot of this stuff, something but from Siemens. And currently, what has been developed is a different backend where we added different functionalities. So you might think, well, this is only collaborative, but the reason is that this is currently available in a hardware device, which means that we can, in the end, develop commissioning and inspection and maintenance done with assisted reality. And this is exactly one of the cases that I have to show you today. This has many advantages, but I would like to show you the video because I think it speaks for itself. And I need to click the video.
Our customers face new and more challenging problems every day. Luckily, digital technology allows us to be there to solve their challenges, even when we're miles and miles away. Working together in industrial environments requires enhanced real-time collaboration tools. That's where Industrial Circuit comes in. Industrial Circuit is a real-time collaboration app running on all kinds of end devices that enables field workers or customers to connect with remote experts, to collaborate via audio and video connection and chat, transmit high-resolution images and videos, use annotations and whiteboards for illustration, share documents, and solve problems. Industrial Circuit, a first step to provide field workers with expert knowledge anywhere, anytime.
So this was one of the solutions. This is the goal of this global platform, is that we are able to have additional functionalities on the maintenance of a device on the factory. So you have to imagine that Siemens is not only the internal ecosystem, I mean we talk in a very, very diverse way of suppliers and customers. This is one of the solutions. Another one is called AssistAR. This has actually been created by our colleagues in Siemens Israel, Siemens Dynamo, so it's an incubation hub. And I do have the solution working in the lab in Portugal. And this is the augmented reality solution developed using the first VR available technology. It means it was developed using basically HTC Vive trackers and the pointer. So it's a bit of a mix. So it runs on Steam. Basically, it has to have Steam on the background. And the objective here is that for complex and long procedures and highly comfortable products, we can have a guidance to execute this procedure. The key advantage here, and the reason why the hardware chosen was the camera and not some glasses, is because of the precision. So we can be at until 0.2 millimeters accurate, which is a big thing in the industrial world. So I'm not saying that this will be used for quality assurance on production, but it could be a very good guideline for the factory operator to do an inspection of a product. I also brought a video with you, and here is a customer feedback from Rafael. Rafael is the aviation defense company from Israel. So, I mean, as you know, Israel can be a very troubled area, so if they use it, should mean something. But I'll show you the video and let you decide for yourself. On this one, I don't have sound, so I'll do some of the explaining while it's showing. So as you can see, we can have some opacity and some transparency. We do have the real-life object, and what is currently happening is that this is fully integrated with our PLM offer. It means that all the products that you are producing in our factory, if you already have the PLM solution from Siemens, which is a Team Center, where you can basically store and have all your product parts safely stored, you can just export this to AssistAR and then start using it. So, as I said, we try to leverage and build on the next layer of the digital twin, which we, and maybe myself as well personally, believe it will be the next layer, the next frontier. As you can see, the operator is doing, basically putting some screws. The quality assurance part is still done and validated by the operator. So this is an area which we want to grow with artificial intelligence, that it actually recognizes this. But the geo-positioning of this pointer is actually the patented and developed technology. So this is actually the game changer for what is here. We are also able, by clicking on the above buttons, to see the full solution, like the end model, and then decide if we're going on the right way or not. So this is not for the typical factory that produces bottles, like in high speed, but differently for the worker that is on the test bench in a controlled environment and has 30 minutes to assemble the process. Now, if he's very senior, this will go well for wiring 100 cables. If he's a junior starting at the company for 3 months, maybe wiring 300 cables, definitely, even with the PDF manual, it can be really tricky. Another solution I have for you, it's a platform which we are currently incubating. We have done a POC for Brazil, for the gas and power factory. And basically, it's a product called WorkLink from a company called Scopeware. It's an Indian company. And the objective here is to leverage all the instructions and the 3D models that we have already built. So this is usually used for non-team center integrations, so it can be used outside of the box. And what we help is on leveraging this technology on the animation. Just going to show you a small video as well. This was me filming on my table, so if it's not okay, you know who to blame. Basically, we had two processes in Brazil, one explaining the parts of the machine and the other one how to assemble it. So the use case we try to focus here is on the learning component. So studies show that around 20% of speed is increased by using augmented reality technologies for learning. And we want to tap on that market as well. Last but not least, Reflect. Reflect is another company, and they have a product called Reflect One. This is a very similar product to Scopeware, but in the end, the big advantage is that it's fully integrated with our PLM offering. We've also done a POC with gas and power in Brazil, and what I would like to show you today as well would be a video on how that basically came out. So Reflect has a little bit of a different user experience, but nonetheless is something that could be attainable in around 1 week. As I said, this is our biggest objective at Siemens, is to build on the platform case, not really on the hardware, but we still have not fulfilled the full use case areas that are available within this huge field, which is AR and VR. Here you can see another example, basically with the same use case. This is all I have for you to show you. I hope it was interesting. I thank you again for the invitation today. And if you would like to cooperate or partner with us, or just come by the lab and see for yourselves how your companies and your customers could benefit from using the Siemens ecosystem, just let me know. Okay? Thank you.
With us, still people arriving, so that's the wonderful Lisbon traffic around us. Following up, Nicola is going to.
Yes, I'm trying to connect my
It's almost fine.
laptop.
Nicola is also going to share with us a bit about scaling up the VRARA project. Afterwards, we're going to have a pitch. Actually, we talked about two startups. A third one appeared. So we're also going to have a third pitch. And then mingling, networking, we're also going to bring up some beers and some chips, and also we can talk a bit between ourselves. And someone I haven't seen for quite some time. And then head out for our work. It's a Wednesday, right? So we need to also get back on our house tomorrow. We work again. Still, thank you very much for being here. It is very important.
If anyone wants to make a question, why would you?
Sure, let's do that. So, does anyone have any question to Miguel regarding this presentation, also regarding a bit of his experience with Siemens? just be. I mean, because I guess one of the things that happens is that most of the times, as all of this comes from different structures, and sometimes it's not completely new, but as it is always new, so it's always very, very difficult to like come and say, okay, so no, I do have a structured question, and this is what I want you to tell me. It's sometimes hard, but still, it's really, really interesting to afterwards see how, for instance, I'm talking about myself. This actually happens a lot. So sometimes I like 4 hours, 5 hours after the presentation, I think, yeah, well, this is one that twist, that how they worked, the solution. You have a lot of solutions that were obviously developed, but were all obviously created by yourself. So how does that twist happen? And I start mingling and working on top of it, and then suddenly, okay, this happened. So, well, I see some faces that are actually, well, were here last time, but some weren't. And we also have VRARA and ARA members, like Jean said, from Malaysia and Canada, one of the agencies that has been developing augmented reality experiences. Mainly, I can say, for tourism, right? And I think that right now we have so many others here, but it is something that we are at this point pushing forward. Soon, you know, also we're going to have 2 more meetups. So we're going to have a dinner. It's going to happen during Web Summit. So it's going to happen on Tuesday. Web Summit, international speaker, and it's going to happen at Chicago, so earlier, so people can actually step out of Web Summit, go there, have a drink, have dinner, have another drink, and if they want, several others. But there's a Web Summit day again the next day, so probably it's not a good idea. And but mainly the whole issue is to allow for people to interact, to talk, and to build the network. And again, to reinforce what we believe is one of our main objectives here, which is to create a platform that can allow for people to, again, connect. Because that's one of the main issues. Cool.
Yeah. A shameless plug, since we have a bit of time.
Yes.
Hi. So I'm the Portugal ambassador for Women in Immersive Tech Europe, just in time. And we're also organizing a kind of informal meetup during Web Summit. Hopefully we can partner up with that, yeah. But that's it, so I can send you the links, you can blast it out. Sorry?
Which day?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
No,
When
that
you
is,
do,
yeah.
we'll post it.
Yeah, we'll blast it out. So we're trying to get more diverse faces into the room, as you can see.
Immersive women in tech, right?
Yeah, women in immersive tech. Immersive
Women in immersive tech.
women.
That's it.
And men.
Exactly.
Inclusive.
Everyone's ready.
Okay, Eli, here you are. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Louis, and good evening. Hi, my name is Nick Rosa, and I'm leading the extended reality practice in Accenture Europe, and I'm the global lead for Accenture Immersive Learning, which is one of the 4 pillars of our offering within Accenture. We have immersive learning that is related to training and education with VR. We have connected worker, which is everything that is related to remote assistance. We have another pillar that is immersive marketing and merchandising, which is related to planograms and product visualization for retail. And then we have immersive experience, which is one of the pillars that is related to everything that is related to B2C experiences, events, and marketing activation. As I said, I lead the immersive learning practice, and one of the things that we've been noticing all around the world in all the engagements that we have with our clients is that our clients are asking the one single pivotal question: how do we scale up? And today I'm here to talk to you about extended reality and about the fact that it's time to grow up for extended reality. But first of all, let me start explaining. Is this working? No, really? Yes, it's working. Let me start explaining what is extended reality. Extended reality is a catchphrase that we're using in Accenture to define augmented reality, virtual reality, and everything in between. If you think about the digital content that is overimposed on top of your field of vision, and if you think about the volume knob that relates to the amount of digital content that you see on top of your field of vision, you can classify augmented reality and virtual reality like the minimum and maximum volume. When the volume is at the minimum and you have some digital content that is overimposed on your field of view and is increasing your awareness of the real world around you, you have what is called augmented reality. When you put the volume at the maximum and you have a complete lockout from the reality that is around you, you have what is called virtual reality. So complete removal of the user from the actual physical space. And these technologies are transformational for many reasons. It's not working? It is, yes. Okay, the most important reason that we see is the memory retention. Now, I don't know if the projector is strong enough to show you all the copy on top of this presentation. By the way, we had to do a migration from a laptop to another, so some of the fonts will be off. Okay, perfect. So you don't see me, which is even better. So this is the Edgar Dale Conov experience. And Edgar Dale is a university professor from Philadelphia University that studied during the 60s the way that we learn and the way that we perceive the world, cognitive science. And he assessed that after 2 weeks that we read something, we remember only 10% of what we read. Up to 50% of what we hear and what we see is remembered after 2 weeks. Like, for example, a video, e-learning. How many e-learning are delivered through videos online right now? But up to 90% of what we say and what we do is retained by the user. So experiential learning is absolutely important and key for a better memory retention when it comes to learning and education. Let's see if it's changing the slide. Okay. So one of the things that is very important also, let me move here so I can control this from here. One of the things that is very important also is that if you see the evolution of information delivery and how this evolved through the centuries, you can see that there's a clear pattern. So we moved from the previous centuries where the information, the audiovisual information was delivered through the movie theaters. People were going to the movie theaters to see the cine news about World War I or World War II. Then in 1948, the first mass-produced television set arrived in living rooms of American families, and everything changed in terms of the consumption of, well, everything changed in terms of the consumption of information in the society. Information became broadly available to everyone, and cultural events started to sprouting out directly from the media that were broadcasted from the television. Then in 2007, something changed again in the way that we're consuming the information. We became cyber. We started using iPhones every day, and if we leave our mobile phone in our home before going to work, we go back to our home to fetch the iPhone because we can't live without our mobile phone. We are completely dependent by it, and the evolution started migrating from a biological evolution to a technological evolution. We are becoming cyborg. And we are seeing right now that this kind of trend, it continues evolving. And there are people that are theorizing that the natural next step is going to be connect computers directly to our brain. And we all seen a couple of weeks ago the announcement that has been made by Elon Musk and Neuralink about his human-machine interface to create a bandwidth connection between the digital world and the biological body. But today we're going to focus mainly on extended reality and immersive technologies. And we're going to see the advantages of using this technology and the errors that a lot of people are doing right now in delivering solutions that are based on extended reality to our clients and to public. The extended reality technology is another advantage of the extended reality technology is the fact that it can solve the data overload problem. What does it mean? If you think about the normal human being, the average human being, is able to consume around 5 to 11 words per second. Now, if you look around you, and we're talking about the college student to the university professor, right? So, pretty knowledgeable people. Now, if you look around you in 1 second, and you close your eyes, how many words you need to describe 1 single second of image? There's a saying in English that says that an image is worth 1,000 words. Now you can flash that number by 60, which is the number of frames per second that are delivered using augmented reality and virtual reality as a minimum for comfort. And you can have the amount of information that can be digested by human beings using augmented reality and virtual reality. And there are other advantages, like for example, the creation of a new economy. Right now, the current economy, the web economy, is based on click-on links. We have CPM, CPC, conversion rates, and we go online to search for content that then has to be delivered through a complex system in the real physical world. With augmented reality, and especially with technologies like AR cloud, the situation will change. The economy will be based on click-on bricks. This means that the world will be painted with data. We're going to have an overlay of information that will be on top of the physical world, and the physical world itself will become ad inventory, or space for augmentation, or space for visualizing data that are delivered via IoT services. And as we said, there are multiple business values that are enabled by XR. It's possible to solve the scale problem for large learning programs. It's possible to reduce the number of injuries during trainings. It's possible to create difficult situation where very expensive appliances and assets need to be used for training, reducing the cost by a number of thousand factor for companies. But why then, even if there are some people like Tim Cook and Mark Zuckerberg that are saying that augmented reality and virtual reality are the next big thing, this technology is not taking off? There are multiple factors. I believe that probably the first point is that the user experience and ergonomics are not great for consumers. We are not there yet in terms of usability, in terms of form factor, in terms of user experience interactions with hands and controllers. We are getting there, and Oculus is leading the way, is paving the way. I don't know if you checked the announcement last week, but they announced that right now with Oculus Quest will be possible to use hands instead of controllers, reducing the time that is needed for consumers to get into the experience and to understand how to use the device, and making the experience more natural and more easy to interact with. The second factor is that it's still expensive. Most of the devices for consumer and for the enterprise are very expensive. If you think about Magic Leap or Microsoft HoloLens, we're talking about thousands of dollars in order to acquire one of those devices. And if you think that right now, normally, companies are buying in bulk mobile phones for their enterprise transformation, for their mobile transformation, for a couple of $100, the CapEx expense for companies and enterprise is still very high. Third point is that the ROI may not be immediately clear for companies. And we are talking about the fact that companies are unable to calculate the impact of these technologies in their production process and in their operations, because they never used those technologies before, or probably, and more easily, because the company are not ready yet. Most of the times, we are talking to clients in Accenture that want to run POCs for augmented and virtual reality. And when we have a look at their digital asset pipeline, we see that it's completely all over the place. Multiple duplication of cost. There's no product data model process, as we call it, a way to create a digital twin that seamlessly will go from CAD model to easily deployable, low-resolution polygon model that can be deployed for augmented and virtual reality. And last but not least, drum roll, the lack of a transformational use case. Basically, if you think about transformational use cases for mobile, things like Shazam or things like Uber, use cases that take the advantage of the best-in-class user experience, a smart use of data, and unique device capabilities. We don't have anything like this yet in the augmented reality and virtual reality world. So it's normal that the adoption of the technology, especially from consumer, is not taking off. Nobody needs to buy a VR headset, but everybody needs to have an iPhone in their pocket because otherwise they're not going to be able to fetch their Uber or listen to a song at the radio and recognize the song automatically, or many other use cases right now. But what is the trifecta of events that need to happen in order to enable transformational use cases for the enterprise in extended reality? Well, from my point of view, there are 3 points. The first one is a better use of design, the creation of user-centric framework for augmented reality and virtual reality. The second one is business models. Companies need to enable content creators to produce content exactly like Apple did with the App Store. Create a business model that will make everyone happy and will bring money to everyone, from the content creators to the hardware producer to the platform owners, and will provide value to the consumers. But in order to make this happen, you will require technology enablers. And once you will have those 3 points together, then the iPhone moment, what happened in 2007, will happen again also for extended reality, so augmented and virtual reality. And in terms of the technology enablers, we are already there. Most of the pieces of the puzzle that we need in order to make this transformation happening are already there. And I'm talking about remote cloud rendering, so enable devices to render the 3D content in the cloud, reducing the form factor of the glasses or the headsets, and reducing also the cost of the glasses and the headset. Imagine having a sort of Netflix for virtual reality and augmented reality. This will create also a new model for business, because companies like, for example, telco providers will jump into the bandwagon of augmented and virtual reality because they will want to provide content for headsets. 5G and Wi-Fi 6, low latency, high bandwidth protocols that will enable the technology that we've seen before, cloud rendering. Advanced data analytics. Multiple companies are already experimenting with this, and in Accenture we are using biometric data and machine learning to create new predictive analytics model for applications that are in training and education. So we are able to inject data, spatial data, of people that are doing virtual reality training into a machine learning algorithm to understand when it's more probable that the user will commit an error. We create predictive models that can be used in virtual reality to alert users that are about to commit an error. But the interesting thing is that if you create a digital twin, an experience that is a digital twin of a real life scenario, once you have that model, you can bring the same data from virtual reality to augmented reality. So you can create predictive analytics for errors and alerts for dangerous situations in real life. And in the future, when the data lake will be rich enough, people will be able to create models for robotic automation. Because at the end of the day, robotic automation is enabled by spatial data. Natural language processing, very important point. People want to interact naturally with the digital world and with the extended reality world. In Accenture, we have a platform that plugs in all the different natural language processing algorithms and providers. So I'm talking about Watson, I'm talking about Alexa, I'm talking about Google Assistant. And we were able to mix and match the best from all the worlds in one single platform and API that communicates with our extended reality applications. OpenXR is the protocol from Kronos Group that enables interoperability of one single code base across multiple platforms. And I'm talking about Steam, I'm talking about Unreal, I'm talking about different kind of 3D engine with distribution platforms with different devices. So you can build an application that is built with Unity that will be able to go on Daydream, but will be also compatible, for example, with Oculus Rift, with just a single switch of the API. And this is already available. There's a version 1.0 that you can check from the website of the Kronos Group. And I invite all of you that are developing extended reality, augmented reality, virtual reality, to have a look at the website because it's very interesting. And last but not least, AR Cloud. So a persistent map of the world for augmentation. We discussed about this before when I said that extended reality can enable a new kind of technology. There are companies that are working on this technology like 60.ai. They're doing some amazing work, and we're already collaborating with them. Also, Google has its own AR cloud system. So it's a method to understand the topology of any kind of environment and create a persistent map for augmentation. So if one user goes to an environment and attach an augmentation, the next user that will go to the same environment will see the augmentation exactly in the same place. But how can we move away from the glorified POC stage? How can we stop building one 20,000, 40,000, 50,000, 150,000 pounds piece of work and start scaling to the millions and also providing value to the companies that we're working with? Well, I don't have a magic sauce, but I can provide you some best practices that we're using within Accenture if the projector will help me out. The first one is move from tactical to strategic. As I said before, most of our clients, most of your clients too, will not be ready immediately for augmented reality and virtual reality. Run maturity assessments, understand the production pipeline, understand what are the gaps that need to be filled in order to create a seamless production of digital assets within the company. This is important because once you have your POC in place and you run your first pilot, you will want this production to go on full steam. And this will also avoid duplication of cost for your clients. The second point, design for purpose, is extremely important to remind everyone and the clients as well that we are talking about user-centric media. So user-centric design is absolutely key to design experiences in augmented and virtual reality. Designing for a pain point, for a business objective, not for the sake of having an augmented reality or virtual reality platform to show at trade events. Try to solve a real problem of people. Uber solves mobility. Shazam solves the need of people knowing the name of a song that plays on the radio. Design for purpose. Design smart. There are millions of ways of using data in augmented reality and virtual reality. You can use biometrics, you can use eye tracking, you can use spatial data, you can use voice interactions. Gather those data and use them in a smart way. Collect them and create personalized output within the experience itself. This will provide value not only to the companies that you're working with, but also to the user that are using those applications that you're building. Select the right target device. Okay, this is important. Because sometimes a lot of people are saying, okay, no, we need to build an augmented reality application for Microsoft HoloLens. Or we need to build, we got an orchestra, okay. We need to build a virtual reality application for the Pimax 8K. It's the use case that defines the use of the device, not vice versa. Don't let the technology be your North Star. Your North Star has to be the use case. Sometimes it's better using web VR, or it's better using mobile augmented reality rather than HMDs. This because maybe the company is not ready yet to buy headsets, or maybe the use case requires an easy access from the browser. All these kind of things need to be considered when you're designing and deploying the experience. Don't reinvent the wheel, of course. There are millions of startups in the XR space that are eager to work with you, that are providing amazing services, and that can do a better job than you to build those specific services because they have more know-how, more expertise, and more use cases that they can put on the table. Partner with them. Don't be scared of sharing your pipeline of opportunities and create alliances. It's extremely important the here and now. We are building a new world, we are pioneers in a new technology, so sharing is very important and collaboration is very important. One small advice though, when you partner with companies, do a little check about the companies you're partnering with, because you don't want to partner with a company that is going to disappear in 24 months from now and is going to leave you without support and without any kind of bug fixing for their platform. But check the companies that are around because there are some amazing platforms and we are working with some amazing providers right now in Accenture. Don't build a spaceship. Minimum viable product is the key. Start with the minimum effort and the minimum build that can provide the maximum impact for what you want to achieve in terms of a business objective. It's easier to fix, it's easier to deploy, and you can have a roadmap of functionalities that you can prioritize by impact and feasibility that can be your guide for the next iteration of the application. Find the right stakeholder. This sounds obvious, but how many times you've been, and I believe that even here probably there are some CEOs or head of digital or head of innovation. I don't want to offend you, but this is something that's happened to me a lot of times because I've been dealing with head of innovation, head of digital. They have a little budget, they want to do a POC, and once you deploy the POC doesn't scale because anyone else in the company doesn't know what is this POC for and why they're building the POC. Involve the right stakeholder that will be the decision makers when it comes to scale the product that you're building at the end of the pilot phase. And try to involve those stakeholders from operation, from learning, from any part of the company that you're working for during the design phase, because they have to be in the room when you do the creation session. And this is going to also help you to define the KPI that will be used to measure the pilot that then you're going to do once the application will be built. And as I said, plan for a pilot. Create some specific KPIs during the design phase, along with the main stakeholder that you're going to have in the room. Those KPIs will be used to measure the effectiveness and will help you to create the business case when it comes to scale the application within the enterprise. And think about change management. This is something that's a lot of companies are not thinking about. Oops. Sorry. But sometimes it's better to partner with companies that can provide this kind of service. Can be Siemens, can be Accenture, can be any other company that can provide change management services. But your client will want support. Your client will want operations management. Your client will want device management. They will require those kind of services in order to scale. And last but not least, XR needs to grow, but you don't have to. So remember to have fun every time that you put on your headsets. We're building a new world, a new brave new world. So keep experimenting and don't be afraid of making mistakes. Thank you. Any questions?
There's a question here.
Great talk, it's good to see suggested kind of thing.
Maybe it's not.
Take a shot.
It's a prop.
I can do.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great talk. It's cool to see the potential of VRs and change everything. One question is, how do you see the 5G? Because we have a slide with a lot of points with 5G. How do you see 5G being integrated with augmented reality? Because I believe that they are super tiny. And what do you think is going to be the next steps on that side, especially in the business case? For consumers, pardon. Business case
For consumers?
Consumers, yes.
Okay. 5G will be an enabler for cloud rendered VR. And cloud rendered VR, as I said, is one of those services that once enabled by companies like, for example, Huawei or Amazon that are working on cloud rendering services, will create a new breed of products that will not have any processor on board. They will just have a codec that will compress and decompress video signal and will have positional tracking for hands and for the headsets. This means that the products will be miniaturized, so you're not going to have any clunky headset like the Oculus Rift or like the Microsoft HoloLens. You can reduce the form factor, but also you will reduce the battery consumption and you will reduce the price for the consumer. This means that the devices will be more accessible to consumers. And you can create an ecosystem of services that can be provided by cloud rendering companies. You can have the creators that will provide multiple kind of application that can be injected into those marketplaces that will deliver cloud rendered VR. And you have multiple layers of reality on top of the real reality. Let's say, for example, you're going to have a mobility layer that is going to be Uber. And then you're going to have your gaming layer that is going to be Pokemon Go. And then you're going to have your dating layer that is going to be Tinder. And it's going to be, everything is going to be overimposed on top of your field of vision. Your productivity layer that is going to be LinkedIn. And you're going to be able to activate and deactivate those layers whenever you want, depending by the situation that you are in. And that's my vision for 5G. 5G is important, technically speaking, because when you do augmented reality or virtual reality, it's important to have a motion to photon latency that is minor than the 18 milliseconds. That's the magic number that enables comfort for the user. If the motion to photon latency is higher than 18 milliseconds, you have motion sickness, which is the same feeling that you have when you're seasick. That's why having 5G as an enabler is so important, because the latency of 5G technically can be as low as 1 millisecond.
Awesome, thanks.
You're welcome.
One question.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that usually you have two ways of learning about everything that Nicola explained here. One is reading about it for months and doing your own research. Another one is attending a really nice talk like the one he gave today. Because it took me some time with his colleagues to achieve the same results that he shared here today. So just wanted to say that these are not buzzwords or just visions. This should be the path that if you are serious about approaching this in a business-to-business environment, not only business to consumer, that you should follow.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Sorry.
Sure.
The assistant is coming. Yeah. Sorry, but I'm not really expert in VR and AR.
Oh, me neither.
board. But in fact, I'm coming from an advertising market, advertising agency.
Your name?
In fact,
Your name?
Chico.
Hi, Tim.
Hi. I'm just wondering how can we bring this kind of technology and bring an easy way to bring to advertising agency, for example, because creative people in advertising agency need to create something for the final consumer.
Sure.
And it's very difficult to bring this kind of technology for the consumer. But I think it's very important to bring this kind of wow effect.
Yeah.
For example, in a campaign,
Yeah.
advertising campaign, how can we bring this kind of thing in an easy way?
There are multiple ways of doing it. You can create marketing activations that are based on specific locations. So you can create some content and you can do marketing activations, for example, in the very city center of Lisbon or in the very city center of Bilbao or other places where you know that there's a lot of passage of people. And you can create marketing buzz and PR activities and so on. The second one is to deliver something to devices that are in your consumer's pockets. And I'm talking about iPhones and Android. Right now there are two very robust framework, ARKit and AR Core, that are created respectively for iPhone and for Android, that can support really good augmented reality. And my suggestion is to start looking into AR cloud providers, because AR cloud providers like, for example, 6D.ai or the AR cloud itself from Google can provide a very robust localization for digital content. So for example, if you want to create a digital billboard that will be sticked on the biggest building of Lisbon, and people that will have the application will receive a push notification when they're close to the building saying, hey, pull up your phone and open the app, we're going to show you something amazing. And you pull up your phone and you see the augmentation on top of the building, where the building will start animating itself and changing shape and so on. You can do that kind of stuff enabled by AR cloud systems.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any more questions? Well then maybe we just push forward. Yes?
Yeah. I just had I can project also, but I had a question just out of curiosity because
Go for it.
Hi. You're quite bullish on Facebook's announcements last week of finger tracking.
Yeah.
And I agree with you in terms of development of hardware. I think they've surpassed the vibe in terms of even finger tracking. But
yeah, let's see what they're gonna come back with. I'm gonna meet them
Exactly.
on Saturday, so I'm very curious. Friday,
Okay.
sorry, I'm very curious.
yeah, they have the Vive.
Cosmos.
The Cosmos, yeah.
Yeah, but there are
But,
other things in the pipeline, so let's see.
Yeah, and Facebook also announced it had bought the Neuro also, like brain machine interface control
Yep.
something. But still, what's your personal view on there? I'm slightly concerned of privacy, and I know everyone else is in terms of
Everyone is concerned about privacy. Like
Yeah.
if you think about Google, for example, we are all using Gmail, we are all using Google Maps. And there's always a trade-off in using a service that is free. If the service is free, you're the product, right? So at the end of the day, if you want a product and a service that is going to reach your life and you're not going to pay for, the trade-off is that you're going to be the product. And it's always been like this. How many people will read terms and conditions of augmented reality applications? I don't know. But we are already all using applications that are based on data collection and data gathering. It's the rule of regulators and administrations to ensure and enforce a legal use of those data to avoid another Cambridge Analytica. Technology will go ahead. And as I said, I believe that we surpassed the moment of biological evolution, and we are already in the era of technological evolution, where mankind and female kind, will evolve via technology, not via natural selection.
Yeah, and it is going to happen. The issue is, and if we are not comfortable with the way that we think it's going to happen, then it's actually something that we need to do something about. We cannot just say that it's bad because it's going to happen. So that's actually one of the main things that I think it's important for us to be aware of. So if again we have ethics issues, we have privacy issues, we want to actually make sure that our perception of being human remains, and what we think human is will be in the future, then it's something that we need to talk about right now, not when things will happen in the future. So, this is a great talk to have in maybe another meetup. Meanwhile, any more questions for you to share? So yeah, everyone's looking to the
No
wall.
questions. I would be interested about listening to some thoughts and.
Yeah, that's it. I was just going to say that afterwards we're going to sit here and have some beers. So you are more than welcome also to come to the event.
And feel free to get in touch. There are all my contacts down there.
Perfect.
Thank you.
So, Nicolas, thank you very much for this. It was great. Now I'm probably going to pass on then to Miguel to present Dot. Dot is working here. Yeah, go ahead. Dot is working, is a startup. It's our first startup doing a pitch today, and they are working with learning VR. So they started in Brazil, and right now they are entering Europe through Portugal. I've seen something that I actually didn't check, but I think that Miguel brought here, and it really is well done, and really is interesting. So if you have the time, please visit and test what Miguel just brought. So yeah, it's there. So Miguel, everything okay? Perfect. So, and it's almost perfect. Great. So, yeah.
Okay. I can just ask for your help to click on play on the video. Okay. So, good afternoon. My name is Miguel Rosa. First of all, thanks for the invitation to come here. To IS and to VR. I represent Dot Vantagem Mais. Actually, Miguel, I have to just tell you something. You wrote the name of our company wrong, but we will get to that. So I represent Dot Vantagem Mais. Our company, it's a joint venture between two different companies, specialists on EdTech, education technology. We started in Brazil as Dot Digital Group, and in the beginning of this year, we made a joint venture with Vantagem Mais. It's a company specialist on corporate training, presential corporate training. So we joined what each company has the best offer, and we created global training solutions. We designed training solutions customized for the needs of any client, and they can be 100% digital, 100% presential, or a mix of these both ways of seeing training, blended learning. Okay? So we have several cases to show here. I will just show a few videos to explain you what we can do, and cases that are already being used in Brazil, and some of them are impacting 20 to 30,000 people at the same time. We develop content, we develop platforms, and we develop training solutions completely outsourced for universities. Developing content, integrating that content in platforms, and managing the relationship of universities with students. In some cases, 20 to 30,000 people using the platform at the same time, with monitors and with tutors, specialists on the contents that reply to questions and push students to move forward and to achieve better results in less time. In our platforms, we trained more than 5 million people already in the last 22 years. So it's a big use case for you to get to know better and to know what we've been doing in the past 20 years. We can do that in Brazil because the possibility to scale solutions, it's really interesting. Here in Portugal, it's much harder. We have a smaller market with potential, but smaller, and companies are not ready yet. Okay? We're doing approaches to companies, developing solutions for them, but still the curve for decision is really long. But we are going and moving forward. Also, we're investing in Angola and in Mozambique. This month, I will go to to Angola, to conduct a seminar about the future of corporate training and development of HR. And after Web Summit, I will go to Mozambique to conduct the same seminar. And it's quite interesting that in Mozambique, a company that has a lot to develop has many people from big corporations interested in our seminar, which gives me hope to develop big projects involving, for example, the mines and big industries that are coming from Europe to starting again. So I'll show a few videos. We have a team of programmers dedicated to develop solutions in Unity, but in total we are around 300 people in Brazil. So it's an ed tech company, really big for what we know here in Portugal. And our development at the moment is being done there, but it will grow here and we'll use the same approach in the Portuguese market. I will show cases. This is an example of a solution that we have developed for Senar. It's Senar Go, and it's part of an educational program that has training with the platforms, e-learning platforms, where students have access to a technical training. Then they pass through presential training in a classroom, and then they have training in simulators, and then they have training in the real site. Okay? So this is part of a training. It's not the solution. I don't defend that digital is the only solution for corporate training problems. Digital is part of that solution. It agrees, brings value to the training processes. It's not the only solution. We cannot replace a good trainer. We cannot replace a good leader, but we can add value with technological solutions. And we can collect data from the behavior of that people and improve what we've been doing. This is an example. Can you please press that first? Yeah. I will use the mic because I have to stop in here. So, this training, yeah, it should have sound. It has two ways. You have a site for training where he has a checklist to check what he has to do. He has time. He has the points that he will collect and the test that he has to perform. As faster he does his steps, he gets more points. And after he concludes this training, he has a report of his performance. Okay? He interacts with the Oculus Rift. It's the equipment that we are using, but it can be also developed for Oculus Quest that has been evolving now. We were speaking about it. I will just go back because I have to show you here in detail. For example, on the training session, then there's a leader in the classroom. He chooses if the student will have training or if will be evaluated. He writes his number, his name underneath, and then he starts the training. Selecting the training mode, he performs the training, and as you can see, there's a checklist. He can scroll the checklist with the Oculus Touch. He will identify the tasks to do because elements are highlighted in red. I don't know if you can see from there. Maybe if we turn the lights on, is it possible? As I see, it's a quite interesting case, and just for you to know, it has trained this year more than 1,200 people, effective training, just on this simulator. Okay, so the test that he has to perform, it's highlighted in red, has a message, and then he has a certain time to be interacting with that particular device. Once he completes the task, this white bar gets to the end, and it's counting the time that he takes to perform that task. It gives him points. So it has a gamified strategy for him to evolve and to progress. Then once you go to evaluation mode, that we will see just now, he will not have any assistance, and he has 30 seconds to complete one task. He has several tasks and the points at the end. We've done this for agriculture, to replace and to maintain tractors. We can do this because it is a public sector. Public sector, it's investing a lot on education in Brazil, and it's the only way to do it because of the dimension of the country. So they have created several training centers around the place, and people have part of that training at home. Here in Portugal, we don't have a case to show yet, but I have several others from Brazil. Okay, showing another one. This is to train people on how to use fire extinguishers in industrial environment. It has to use Oculus Rift, but doesn't require the Oculus Touch, the remote. With the eyes, he interacts with the things that he has to do. In this case, we have a tutorial on the beginning just to show how can you move around the place. Once you complete this tutorial, you get to the real exercise, where you have highlighted things that you have to interact with. And once you look a certain amount of time to a place where you have to interact, it moves and it moves forward, gives you instructions, and we are focused with this sort of solutions on knowledge retention. Because they are so interactive, they are so different, and they force you to learn by repetition. You retain knowledge, as Nicola from Accenture said on the beginning. Knowledge retention is very important, it's the base of that pyramid that he showed. If we just focus on reading or on watching, we do not retain knowledge that much. Practicing, we retain it much more. Several other cases. This was, it's a pilot to interact with exams in the hospitals, to see them, the x-rays. It has a video, I don't have the time to show now because I have limited time, but I can send you the presentation for you to see, just get in touch with me. This has, it's a project, a pilot project that we have developed for a huge corporation in Brazil. It's supposed to train people on welding. This reduced a lot the consumption of welding materials, and made them learn by error. Once they go to the real workshop, they learn it much faster because they practice it on their own machine. This is also for SEBRAE. It's a public institute from Brazil, where we mix augmented and virtual reality. For example, they have books with the images that are recognized and show videos about a specific model that they have to learn about. Or they can also put their mobile phones into the Google Cardboard or to other devices like that to acquire that knowledge through videos. That can be just plain videos or can be 360 videos. Again, I repeat, these solutions involve thousands of people at the moment. This is what we have for DOT to show how do we work, our solutions, and also it's an application that you can consume videos about us with Google Cardboard, for example, and we can personalize an environment for a company for onboarding solutions, for example, and we are doing it at the moment in Portugal. We have some cases that are being developed, and I hope to close contract really soon. Again, another example made for SEBRAE. It's an elevator pitch simulator where people can have an audience in the front of them and have a PowerPoint presentation and train, because these people do not react exactly to what they say, but show reactions. And people that are not comfortable with being in front of public, they can train to this simulator. This is made for Honda in Brazil. It uses Oculus Gear VR and Samsung 8 Plus. It's part of a training session also. We develop other things for them. For Senar, also for working with tractors again. It's very strange for us here in Portugal, but Brazil has another dimension and capability. For augmented reality, we also have developed some prototypes to interact with sales manuals, for example, and with wine producers, with children. These are simulators for desktop, but they can also be developed by for Oculus Rift, where we can use this sort of devices to train many people. For example, a bench like this can cost around 30,000 euros. But for the same price, you can have the same one, the same device, but train 20 people, 20,000 people at the same time. And again, I have videos about it, but I don't have the time to show you. If you want them, just tell me and I'll send it to you. This is another simulator to train in ISOs, for example, to detect non-conformities in quality or in health and safety. It is a game. It has a report after the game. This is another simulator to practice support live, I don't know how to say it in English, CPR, to support CPR. It is a game. It has the times to interact with the person that is injured. And we have e-learning platforms. Studio, it is a complex platform that we use for to develop corporate education systems and to universities. And we have Pronto, it's a mobile platform, very interesting for onboarding solutions. Also, here is an example of a few clients that we're working with in Brazil. And in Portugal, we are really close to close the first contract. So I hope our company develops in the next months. And we'll be present also in Web Summit to collect investment to increase the potential of these platforms, for example, Pronto, which is very interesting to see. You'll find some videos online. Okay? So, thank you very much.
let's save the questions for the networking after all. Now we have Lionel. Lionel, please.
Okay, if you want to try these things that I've showed you, we can try there. I have the simulator with me. You can try it real life, okay? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Miguel.
Só ia pedir, por favor, se alguém tirou alguma fotografia que depois me passe para mostrar aí no documento de Portugal também. Não, se alguém tirou fotografia durante a apresentação, depois me passe, está bem? E tenta dar o documento.
Uma pequena mudança.
Hello, good evening. I'm very happy to be here and to speak after Siemens in Accenture. Because if you remember the problems they have pointed out at their presentations, I'm kind to tell you that I think I have a good solution for your problem. So I remember in Siemens' presentation that you have the collaborating wearing a lot of stuff with him, and that you need guidance from a remote location. And I also remember from Nicola's presentation that the AR devices are bulky and they are not user-friendly, they are expensive, and they tend to have all the processing units and sensor elements inside it. So what we have here is just the opposite. So this is an augmented reality device that was developed for AR content producers, or anyone that works in B2B. So this is a very simple and versatile augmented reality device, because I just simply connect to my smartphone, tablet or PC, and everything that I see in the screen of those devices is mirrored in front of me. So I don't need any additional software to work with this device. It's just a simple wireless, in this case it's a Wi-Fi connection. If I want to see a text, work instructions with text, if I want to see a schematic, if I want to see a video, it's up to me. I know how to use my mobile phone. I don't need to learn anything else. So I just go to the applications of my mobile phone and I make use of it. If I want to see a video showing how I should repair a machine, I project it in front of me. So I make use of the CPU of my smartphone, of the camera of my smartphone, and of the sensing elements usually called the EMU, which is the stormometer, gyroscope, and some magnetometers, etc. So it's very easy to use, and we can make use of our own devices. Like our headset, we can use our headset, which is connected to our smartphone. And since the smartphone is connecting to our device, VIP display, so I have everything. I have the image, and I have the sound with me, and I have all the capabilities of the smartphone. So it's very simple to use. So I don't have all of those problems with the sensors inside, the processing units inside, the fact that they are proprietary, that they, after 1 year, they are obsolete. No, I don't have this. If I want, I change my mobile, but I still can use this device. But most of all, I have an image with high quality projected in front of me. That is very important. because I can read the small font letters. I can see a good image at the center and at the periphery of my projected image. I can wear with eyeglasses simultaneously. Another important feature, I can use it indoor and outdoor. Because I have here 2 or 3 buttons to control the brightness and contrast, depending on the light environment where I'm in. So, also, in factories, if they don't use eyeglasses, they sometimes need to use protective glasses. We can use it because this can be wear simultaneously with that. I can adjust the projected image to the top or the bottom, and I'm still seeing it. But I see through this image, so I see the image projected and I see the object that I'm operating on. So there are several advantages of this device comparing with others. We also have another version. This is called the version A, mirror version. We also have the B version, which is very useful for maintenance, which we call video remote assistance. It has a camera, and this camera is pointing to my field of view. And everything that I'm filming here, someone in the other side of the continent can open a URL page and see exactly what my camera is filming. And can make a screenshot, make a mark, and send it to me. And I will see this information in front of me because it will be my guidance. So I can speak with him, but I can also receive image from the expert that is in the remote location and say, Miguel, take this cable out, put this in channel 2, take the one from channel 3, put it in channel 4, etc. So this is very useful for remote assistance. If I'm a trainee, if I'm a young junior, I don't know how to do the work. But I have someone on the other side that provide me guidance and how to do the things on site. So that version B does mirror the mobile, have this function of video streaming to a remote area. The version B, it mirrors the device. And if I go to a place where there is a machine with malfunction, I don't know what will I found, what is the problem. But once I recognize it is a problem, I will need my user manuals, my schematics. They usually with me, my tablet or my smartphone. I can project in front of me and what I want. I want work instructions and hands-free, that's what this provides. So those are the 2 devices that we have to present. If one of you want to experiment, wants to try, I'm here. I have to move as well, but I'm willing to show it to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Miguel. Now let's go with Leonel.
Boa noite a todos. Eu vou falar português, estamos em Portugal, na Norte. Sinto mais à vontade, e creio que são todos portugueses, a maioria, e não percebem. Eu estive fora há algum tempo e não desenvolvi o inglês e tenho também algumas dificuldades na dicção, portanto não iriam perceber muito bem aquilo que eu iria falar. Então vou falar em português, ok? Eu represento uma empresa, ou vou começar por outro lado. Nós fomos convidados pelo Luís para estarmos aqui porque nós estivemos com ele aos tempos para tentarmos perceber o que é a realidade aumentada. Nós temos agora aqui de paraquedas, eu cheguei hoje a Lisboa e também não sabíamos bem qual era o intuito deste vídeo. Por isso, espero que seja útil para vocês. Como estava a dizer há pouco, nós trabalhamos com uma editora, somos uma editora que trabalha em Angola, praticamente exclusivamente em Angola. O nosso interesse na realidade aumentada tem a ver com a educação. Sim. Isto nós também temos interesse noutras áreas, em termos de nós pudermos desenvolver projetos noutras áreas, obviamente, mas o nosso intuito é mais de educação. E nós já desenvolvemos 3 projetos, e é isso que eu vos vou mostrar hoje. Okay? Portanto, depois de tudo aquilo que ouviram aqui, aquilo que nós vamos mostrar, no fundo, é aplicações práticas da realidade aumentada. Não sei qual é o tipo de público que está diferente, se já conhecem isto, portanto, algumas funcionalidades ou não, mas portanto, vamos apresentar duas funcionalidades. Peço desde já desculpa por não poder ligar ali ao ecrã, porque temos um problema, tenho que ligar o telefone ao computador e a internet aqui não deixa, tem alguma configuração que não deixa de fazer essa ligação. Vou ligar diretamente tanto só ao computador, mas como não tenho a password para ligar a minha internet ao computador daqui, não podemos passar para ali. Então eu vou-vos mostrar o que é que nós temos. Isto é um livro infantil que foi publicado em Angola e ao qual foi aplicada a realidade aumentada para complementar a história. Eventualmente o processo não foi melhor, porque o livro foi editado antes de pensarmos em fazer a realidade aumentada. Portanto, foi adaptada àquilo que estava cá. Bom, eu vou passar a mostrar, porque isso é que é o importante. Ali naquele monitor conseguem ver um bocadinho maior, vou ligar ali. Este livro, todas as páginas têm realidade aumentada. Isto é uma história infantil. Eu vou tentar passar isto um bocadinho rápido.
Se calhar é mais fácil para a malta ver que estivemos ali.
Sim, depois se alguém
estar aqui.
Sim, tiver curiosidade ainda mais ao pormenor.
Não, mas está você. Sim, eu tenho que mostrar. Mas vou verificar que a câmera aqui está lá. Está? Maravilhas até como aqui.
Nós conseguimos passar para aqui.
Em Portugal vai fazer rascas juntas e tem este manancial de inovação. Vai buscar.
Talvez só abrir a câmera.
Pode ligar a câmera.
Só ligar a câmera do iPhone do Mac.
Ligar a câmera do Mac.
Ninguém tem cabo HDMI para os meninos, não? Se tiverem, resolvemos o problema. Devia ter começado por aí. Porque aquele PC só tem uma entrada do mini e o USB.
Não sei se é. Se vai dar, mas é
cada fase tem as quatro vezes melhor depois Então, para não descansar, já dá para perceber a potencialidade, provavelmente todos conhecem, né? Da realidade aumentada múltipla, tudo isto que estamos a falar. Depois, se quiserem ver mais ao redor, de facto, ali a aqui temos som, temos vídeo e temos animação em 3D. Okay? Isto é nós temos também um portal que não vos vou mostrar. Já devem conhecer, em que basicamente mapeia o chão. Okay? Depois vai criar um portal de facto, entra-se lá para dentro e é o conceito de imersão pura. Fica-se lá dentro, naquele caso é um jogo, tem animais, tem que se procurar lugar, e está-se dentro mesmo do portal, portanto, é a imersão completa, mas não vos vou mostrar dadas as condições, desculpa, mas não é possível. É aquilo que eu vou falar também. Nós temos um jogo de matemática, portanto é outra potencialidade. Vamos lançar isto no mercado brevemente. Este jogo, isto aqui que estão a ver, é uma base, serve como cábula, isto depois vai ser impresso num formato mais duro, né? Aqui tem geometria, tem noções dos números romanos, da área, de cálculo do volume, medidas e grandezas, portanto, serve como um apoio para as crianças estudarem. E depois tem a parte da realidade aumentada, que posso depois mostrar ali também andando adiante, em que praticamente cada uma destas componentes tem um jogo. Por exemplo, nos números romanos aparecem os números romanos e a criança tem que transformar aquilo em números ordinários. No volume, por exemplo, aparece um objeto, e esta é a vantagem da realidade aumentada, aparece um objeto em 3D, a criança pode visualizar tudo, ver qual é as medidas que estão lá e vai calcular o volume, com a ajuda eventualmente disto. E tem jogos tudo relacionado. Sim, esta experiência aqui tem jogos tudo relacionado com isto.
Esta é uma parte muito importante, ou seja, uma das coisas que nós queremos também fazer é que durante este momento em que nós vemos o hobby por aí fora, vocês também possam falar, queremos também experimentar, também interagir diretamente com as startups que hoje também vieram aqui para nos mostrar tudo aquilo que neste momento já têm. E também, e não só as ideias, também há aqui esse interesse. Portanto, enquadrem o vosso trabalho aqui, não apenas, e também a vossa participação, não apenas numa lógica de vou agora experimentar e vou dar o meu feedback, e isso é importante, mas para além disso, vejam também oportunidades para vocês conseguirem também criar dinâmicas profissionais com as várias pessoas que estão aqui, porque elas estão aqui precisamente para isso, para que vocês também consigam interagir com eles a esse nível, nível profissional, não puramente numa lógica de eu, entretanto, aproveito também para vos agradecer, dizer-vos que tentei abrir 10 cervejas, uma delas com estronco, portanto essa está boa. E há ali cerveja, há ali umas coisinhas para também termos comer qualquer coisa, muito obrigado. Now in English, I don't see a lot of problems with it. Portanto, vamos nisto, pá, e não é isso, muito obrigado. Voltaremos em novembro para o jantar e assim, e vamos comunicar isso através dos nossos pais e dos próprios. Este
sei, fiquei aqui nesta parte final, não foi possível.
Estás no meio de fazer sinaleiro.
Não podes escalar isso, é sempre um cruzamento. Máximo. Os sinaleiros fazem qualquer coisa, ficam sempre parados no mesmo sítio.
Sei nem que são tráficos, mas não podia ser questão de tráficos, tem que ser questão de como estamos a fazer isso é uma cena mais de cidade. Não pode, mas tem que ser, mas consegue dar. Não digo para trás, mas digo uma cena assim. Esses semáforos. Os 7 semáforos, estás uma cena assim, vais clicar. Tem que ser mais por aí, acho. Fora isso também não me esteja. Só bastante também. Porque já está pegado. Porque acho que a nível da tráfico geralmente o controle bem feito, porque estás a ver tudo na mesma. Quando tu vais lá, metes o dedo à frente, não sei o quê, e acabas por demorar mais tempo. Sabes que aquele semáforo já está neste dedo, neste disso, aqui, neste daquela, aqui, neste daquela. Torna-se muito mais intuitivo e muito mais rápido. Um pro player de tráfico é muito melhor da vida.
Vou até dizer que você vai para o Portugal. Quem quer?
Acho que não sei. Acho que o facto de ter a cena com o tempo, tentei jogar no nível, não consegui. E só tinha o semáforo verde, tinhas para o vermelho, tinhas que carregar naquele, ficar ali no outro. E a segunda carregar naquele, se pode desenhar a volta, vai ter que ficar vermelho. Mas já tinha passado um carro atrás. Sabe, o vermelho tem que saltar, o vermelho carrega. Mas agora com os outros, eles carrega e faz. Eles fazem assim. Se as experiências rápidas, a gente testa já, não sei o que, agora faz aquilo. E estamos, isso está no caralho. Eu recomendo ao gajo e ao Diogo já chegar no meu. É isto. É assim que vamos fazer. Ele está muito fixe. Agora assim, o algoritmo falta. Se calhar, isso é o algoritmo, mas que o algoritmo tem uma ideia. Nível a nível de dizer isto, perto toda a transação é isso. Estou a ver um bocado de mim, não está demasiado feito para mobile. Pois foi. Mandem isso como está, mas fazem um highlight para arranjar qualquer coisa que eu saber onde é que está. Então, ele tem que ser a base, dar os dados dos testes. funciona sozinho, mas o outro jogo faz o contrário. O branco é tipo. Como estava a contar o gel neste momento. É tipo cantamos brancos, mas a coisa assim que não fazia muito sentido demonstrar a peça. Se eu estar branco, parece que até que vocês não vão estar físico aqui. Estamos lá em cima. Para as coisas para aqui. Que é giro. As escuras parecem funcionar. Este jogo funcionava quase que sempre. Funciona nas aulas que já li shift. Funciona basicamente o chão está sempre em baixo, ou seja, para dizer para branco, mas o chão também é branco. Ele acaba por encontrar-se até quando experimentei foi, fizemos isso em seguida cheguei a câmera mais para cima, ou seja, ficava mais em baixo, o chão ficava mais em baixo e ficava logo uma cena bem diferente. Isso significa muito só um picotado vazio, e depois tu apanhas o banho, fica a imagem da cereja que apanhaste. A única cena que eu curto do meu capítulo é que eu as cerejas douradas. Eu às vezes vou mostrar essa pessoa e dou por mim, só que eu não falei ainda estou a jogar. Até isso falta aqui os backgrounds, as imagens, tenho que deixar muito tipo preto. Sim, é muito subido. Não é o fixo, já lá mesmo ao fundo, só tipo umas sombras. Especiais que não vejo. Portanto, esta fechar isso agora despeito agora estava a começar um texto que eu falei do outro jogo que eu saí no chão quando passo em classe obriga-te a saltar e mandar um salto mais alto não pode saltar por cima daquilo salto isto também já nem vejo é tipo só apanhas sereias escolhes um caminho ao outro mas há um tem mais sereias do outro e como aquilo não tens paredes nunca voltas para trás passa lá, só que já teleporte, conversa assim para andar, entras e sais o outro já a andar e tu não tens tempo a não ser que visses mesmo. Assim funciona se fiz uma parede. Eu vou botar a porta assim e o gajo entra e sai logo do outro lado. A câmara não muda. Eu cheguei até aí, ainda podia não jogar.
Vocês tentaram grafar?
Não sei, eu só baixava.
Entusiasmo, não é? Estás-me a despachar, a gente fala depois.